The Force, a pervasive energy that wove through every facet of the galaxy, connected every living being in an invisible, intricate web. Yet, sometimes, something from beyond the stars arrived with its own immutable power, an anomaly that defied every known principle of its mystical currents. No ship appeared on the scanners, no hyperspace signature registered. Yet something fell from the void between stars, leaving only questions and the echo of impossible technology in its wake. On a remote, uncharted moon orbiting a gas giant at the edge of the trailing sectors, a Jedi archaeological expedition, led by Master Lyra Shan, felt a ripple in the Force, not a disturbance, but an absence. A void that simultaneously hummed with an alien energy, like a discordant note in a galactic symphony. The expedition, a small team of Jedi Knights and their Padawans, was cataloging ancient ruins suspected to be remnants of a forgotten progenitor race. The moon itself was lifeless, a pockmarked orb of ice and rock, perpetually shrouded in the purple haze of the gas giant's upper atmosphere. The air tasted of ozone and ancient dust, and the only sounds were the crackle of their comms and the distant hum of their repulsor lift cargo transports. It was Padawan Alara, still new to the sensitivity of the Force, who first pinpointed the source of the anomaly. "Master Shan?" Her voice, a mix of awe and trepidation, cut through the comms. "There's something here. Below the surface. It feels cold. Empty. Yet so loud." Following Alara's increasingly frantic directions, the team descended into a cavern system that bore no hallmarks of natural formation. Smooth, metallic walls, fused into the rock, led them deeper into the moon's core. The air grew colder, the strange energy signature more potent, vibrating in their bones. Lightsabers ignited, casting emerald and azure glows against the alien architecture. There, at the heart of a vast crystalline chamber, stood the object of their search. It was a block of solid carbonite, larger than any they had encountered, roughly cuboid, but with strange organic indentations on its surface, as if something incredibly powerful had struggled within before being frozen. The carbonite shimmered with an eerie, faint green luminescence that seemed to absorb the light around it. "By the Force," Master Shan whispered, her hand instinctively going to her lightsaber hilt. The energy emanating from the block was unlike anything she had ever felt. It wasn't the dark side, though it felt aggressive, chaotic. It wasn't the light, though it held no malice. It was raw, unadulterated power, contained yet threatening to burst forth. Her mind reached out, attempting to discern any living presence within, but it was like trying to grasp smoke. There was consciousness, a fragmented primal scream, but it was shielded by something impenetrable, something alien. Strange symbols, unlike any known galactic script, were etched onto the carbonite's surface, glowing intermittently with the same sickly green. As the Jedi team approached, their lightsabers illuminating the frozen form, they could make out a distorted humanoid shape within. It was massive, far larger than any known sentient species, with broad shoulders and an unnatural bulk. The face was a mask of primal fury, eyes squeezed shut in what appeared to be eternal rage. Master Shan felt a shiver of unease. This was no ordinary artifact, it was a prison. And whatever was inside, it desperately wanted out. The very air around the carbonite seemed to thrum with a suppressed energy, making their teeth ache. This discovery would change everything they knew about the galaxy, about the Force, and about the very nature of conflict. It was an enigma, a puzzle, and potentially a catastrophe waiting to happen. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The journey back to Tython, the sacred homeworld of the Jedi Order and the seat of the Jedi Council, was fraught with an almost palpable tension. The colossal carbonite block, secured within a specialized containment field aboard Master Shan's transport, radiated its unsettling energy throughout the journey. Even through the reinforced hull and the force-dampening measures, the Jedi on board felt its alien presence. Padawans reported restless sleep, plagued by visions of crushing green waves and primal roars. Knights found their meditations disturbed, their inner peace fractured by the raw, untamed chaos emanating from their mysterious cargo. Master Shan herself experienced an undercurrent of unease, a constant hum in her mind that spoke of imminent, unpredictable force. Upon arrival at the Jedi Temple on Tython, the Carbonite block was immediately transported to a secured, deep-level research facility, far beneath the tranquil training grounds and hallowed libraries. The facility was designed to safely examine dangerous artifacts and contain volatile energies, but even its most robust shielding struggled with the unique radiation signature the block emitted. Jedi scientists, specializing in xenobiology and anomalous force phenomena, gathered around the massive block, their data loads running endless diagnostics. Their initial findings were perplexing. The Carbonite wasn't just frozen, it was intertwined with an unknown energy, almost as if the very atoms of the substance were subtly fused with the entity within. "The energy readings are unprecedented," reported Master Solara, a Twi'lek scientist whose leku twitched with fascination and concern. "It's a form of radiation, highly energetic, but unlike any we've ever cataloged. It seems to be in a symbiotic relationship with the life form inside, preserving it in stasis while simultaneously radiating outwards." Another scientist, a human knight named Jax, added, "The bioscans are even stranger. It's definitely a humanoid, but its physiology, it defies explanation. Massive bone density, muscle mass beyond anything possible for a sentient being. And the internal energy signature? It's like a contained supernova." The Jedi Council, composed of the wisest and most powerful masters in the Order, convened a special session to discuss the discovery. Master Shan presented her report, detailing the strange energy, the primal presence, and the baffling nature of the Carbonite. Yoda, his ancient eyes narrowed, felt the anomaly keenly. "A profound mystery this is. A disruption in the balance, it feels like." Mace Windu, ever pragmatic, voiced his concerns. "It's a volatile, unknown quantity. We risk unleashing something we cannot control by thawing it. Perhaps containment should be permanent." Ki-Adi-Mundi, however, argued for understanding. "Ignorance is not protection, Master Windu. If this entity is indeed sentient or capable of sentience, we have a duty to understand it, even if for the sake of containing its potential threat." After intense debate, a decision was reached. The Carbonite would be slowly thawed under maximum security, with a team of Jedi Masters prepared for any eventuality. Their objective, to establish communication, understand its origin, and assess its threat level. They sought knowledge, not destruction. The thawing process was painstaking, a slow reversal of the unknown freezing mechanism. Specialized force sensitives worked to gently nudge the Carbonite's molecular structure, while technicians monitored every fluctuating energy reading. The eerie green glow intensified, pulsating with a rhythmic beat that matched an impossibly strong heartbeat detected within. As the last vestiges of the Carbonite shimmered and evaporated, a colossal, verdant green form slowly emerged. The creature was gargantuan, easily twice the height of any Jedi present, its skin a mottled green, its muscles corded and immense. It possessed a raw, terrifying power, contained only by the lingering effects of its long stasis. For a moment there was silence, broken only by the hum of the containment systems. Then, the creature's eyelids slowly fluttered open. Its eyes, burning emeralds filled with untold centuries of suppressed rage and confusion, fixed on the nearest Jedi scientist. A guttural growl, a sound that vibrated through the very foundations of the facility, erupted from its chest. The containment field, designed to hold starship engines, buckled and groaned under the sudden immense surge of unfamiliar energy. The force in the chamber recoiled, as if shoved violently aside by an unseen fist. The Hulk, awakened, flexed his colossal frame, and with a roar that tore through the air, he shattered the containment field with contemptuous ease, sending durasteel shrapnel hurtling through the chamber. The Jedi present, prepared for an awakening, were utterly unprepared for the sheer, unadulterated fury that greeted them. Panic erupted as the Hulk, a force of nature reborn, began to tear apart the research facility with terrifying efficiency. The roar that ripped through the Jedi research facility was not just a sound. It was a physical force, a primal scream that vibrated through bones and made even the most seasoned Jedi masters flinch. The Hulk, free from his carbonite prison, stood amidst the wreckage of the containment field, his massive green form radiating an aura of raw, unfettered power. His eyes, now wide and blazing with an emerald inferno, swept across the Jedi present, perceiving them not as compassionate scholars, but as immediate threats, captors in a new, unfamiliar prison. The air crackled with displaced force energy, as if the very presence of this alien being created a localized vacuum that the force struggled to fill. Master Solara, her Twi'lek headtails whipping with alarm, barely dodged a flying console that the Hulk casually swatted aside. Jax, the human knight, ignited his lightsaber, its blue blade illuminating the sheer scale of their problem. The Hulk simply snarled, a sound more akin to a predatory beast than a sentient being. He lunged, a surprisingly fast blur of green muscle, directly at Jax. The Jedi Knight, trained in the most agile lightsaber forms, managed to parry the colossal fist, but the impact sent a shudder through his entire body, the hum of his lightsaber shrieking under the immense force. He was thrown backward, skidding across the ferrocrete floor, barely able to retain his weapon. "Do not engage directly," Master Shan's voice boomed, overriding the chaos, her own lightsaber igniting. "Try to contain him, stun him." Several Jedi Knights deployed stun blasts from their pistols, lashing streaks of blue energy at the hulking figure. The bolts impacted his green hide, sparking harmlessly, barely registering as an annoyance. He merely grunted, shaking his massive head, and then, with a thunderous stomp, tore a section of the reinforced floor plating free. With a primal yell, he flung it like a frisbee at the stun-wielding Jedi, forcing them to scatter or erect force shields that buckled under the kinetic assault. The research facility, designed to be impregnable, was being dismantled piece by piece. Support pillars groaned as the Hulk's fists pounded against them, the ferrocrete crumbling like ancient dust. Force barriers erected by multiple Jedi Masters were met with a relentless, overwhelming physical might that simply brute-forced its way through, dissipating the energy like a child's toy. The Jedi, accustomed to the elegant dance of lightsabers and the subtle manipulations of the Force, were utterly outmatched by this brute force alien. Their mental probes, their attempts to soothe or reason, met only a wall of impenetrable, furious emotion. It was as if his mind, in its enraged state, was a storm of gamma energy that simply overwhelmed any delicate force intrusion. "He is impervious to stun bolts," Master Solara reported grimly, picking herself up. "Force pushes barely faze him, and attempts at mind calming, they seem to infuriate him further." Master Shan watched as the Hulk ripped a massive power conduit from the ceiling, sparks raining down like fiery tears. "He perceives us as a threat, a prison," she concluded, her voice tight with concern. "His mind is a whirlwind of pure, unfettered rage. He cannot be reasoned with in this state." She then realized the deeper problem. This was not a dark side manifestation they could purge, nor a beast they could tame with the Force. This was something fundamentally different, operating on a set of rules they did not understand. The alarm klaxons blared throughout the temple, a piercing wail that signaled an unprecedented breach. Security forces, composed of Jedi sentinels and armed temple guards, began to mobilize, their weapons charging. But Master Shan knew it would be futile. They were not fighting a rampaging rancor, or even a rogue Sith Lord. This was a force of nature, a living, breathing, planet-shaking force that simply didn't care about their rules, their force, or their galaxy. With another earth-shattering roar, the Hulk smashed through the outer wall of the research facility, the reinforced durasteel crumpling inward like paper. He launched himself into the gaping maw of the tunnel leading to the surface of Tython, his emerald form a terrifying blur against the deep shadows. The ground trembled with each colossal stride as he began his ascent, leaving a trail of destruction and utter disbelief in his wake. The Jedi Council would soon receive the report, and the serene quiet of Tython would be broken by the terrifying rampage of the Green Terror. This was not merely an escaped prisoner. It was a cosmic misunderstanding, now unleashed upon their sacred world. The serene, untouched wilds of Tython, normally a sanctuary of the Force, and a place of deep meditation for generations of Jedi, were now subjected to a terrifying alien force of destruction. The Hulk, having burst from the underground facility, found himself on a planet that assaulted his senses with a myriad of unfamiliar stimuli. The twin suns of Tython, casting long, ethereal shadows, bathed the landscape in an alien light that seemed to prickle his skin. The vibrant, force-attuned flora, pulsing with life, felt like an unbearable itch to his gamma-powered physiology. Every living thing, every tree, every blade of grass, every distant creature, hummed with the omnipresent energy of the Force. And to the Hulk, it was a cacophony of unseen, irritating forces. With each thunderous stride, he tore through ancient forests, snapping trees like twigs, his roars echoing across the canyons and disrupting the delicate balance of the Force on the planet. Small Force-sensitive creatures, attuned to the planet's harmony, fled in terror, their primal instincts screaming at the sheer, unbridled chaos he embodied. The Jedi, scrambling to respond, found themselves in an impossible situation. Their sacred homeworld was under attack by a being they could neither subdue nor understand. High above, within the Jedi Council chambers, the mood was one of grim disbelief. Master Yoda sat, his ears drooping slightly, his eyes closed in deep contemplation. Unprecedented, this is. A power unlike any known to us, it is. Mace Windu, ever the realist, interjected, "Our attempts to contain him only fueled his rage. His physical resistance to the Force is absolute. We cannot engage him in open combat without risking catastrophic damage to Tython itself, let alone countless lives." Master Shan, having returned from the destroyed facility, stood before them, her report stark and unsettling. "Council, we saw flashes, glimmers of intellect, a human mind amidst the monstrous rage. I believe it is a sentient being, or at least a host to one. Its name, we believe, is Hulk. But we also heard a softer voice, a name like Banner, amidst the confusion." He spoke of gamma and science, concepts entirely alien to our understanding of the Force. The revelation of a potential dual nature, a sentient mind trapped within the beast, complicated matters immensely. Ki-Adi-Mundi considered this. A split personality, perhaps? Or a transformation that is not fully controlled? If we can reach the Banner persona, we might find a way to communicate, to understand this gamma energy. But the immediate problem was the rampaging monster laying waste to their home. Below, on Tython's surface, a formidable Jedi strike team had been deployed, led by Jedi Master Satele Shan, a descendant of Lyra Shan in a slightly later Old Republic timeline, demonstrating the vastness of the era. A powerful battle master. The team included several masters skilled in force containment and combat. They found the Hulk near a series of ancient Jedi meditation spheres, structures imbued with centuries of tranquil force energy. The Hulk, drawn to their potent hum like an angry insect to a lamp, was systematically tearing them apart, the concentrated force energy within them seeming to make his green skin glow even brighter. Satele Shan ignited her double-bladed lightsaber. Its azure hum, a stark contrast to the Hulk's guttural growls. She moved with precision, her lightsaber a blur, attempting to redirect the Hulk's destructive blows rather than meet them directly. Other Jedi Masters unleashed powerful force pushes, attempting to lift the creature or slam him against the canyon walls. But the Hulk simply braced himself, his colossal feet digging into the ground, a defiant grunt his only response. The Force, instead of directly moving him, seemed to flow around him, unable to grasp his mass with sufficient purchase. It was like trying to force push a mountain. The energy simply dissipated against its sheer, unyielding form. As one Jedi Master, renowned for his mental fortitude, attempted a powerful mind trick, aiming to sow confusion or fear, the Hulk suddenly paused. His green eyes narrowed, a strange flicker of pain crossing them. Then, with a roar that transcended mere anger, he swatted the Master aside with a casual backhand, sending him flying like a ragdoll. It was clear. The Force, when used in direct mental or even broad physical applications, didn't control him. It irritated him, like a buzzing fly he couldn't quite swat, only making his rage fester further. Suddenly, a voice, weak and ragged, echoed within the Hulk's mind, a voice that was not his own. "Stop. Don't. Fight them." It was Bruce Banner, his consciousness struggling to surface from the tempest of gamma-fueled fury. The Hulk paused, his colossal head tilting, a low growl rumbling in his chest. The internal struggle was brief but intense, a momentary hesitation that allowed the Jedi to regroup. But the rage quickly reasserted itself, fueled by the unfamiliar sensations and the Jedi's continued attempts to control him. The Hulk roared again, louder, more defiant, and prepared to unleash another wave of devastating physical force. The Jedi had glimpsed the man within the monster, but for now, the monster was firmly in control, and Tython was paying the price. The escalating rampage of the Hulk on Tython was not merely a local catastrophe. It was an anomaly that sent ripples through the Force itself, reaching beyond the sacred planet's protective aura. For the Jedi, it was a terrifying test of their principles and their power. For the Sith, however, it was an irresistible beacon, a colossal surge of raw, untamed power that pierced through their deepest meditations. On the dark, volcanic world of Korriban, within the oppressive confines of a Sith temple, Lord Varos, a fearsome Sith Lord known for his mastery of force drain and his insatiable hunger for unique power, suddenly emerged from a deep trance. His red eyes, usually cold and calculating, gleamed with an avaricious fire. An echo, a tremor of pure, unadulterated fury, Varos rasped to his apprentice, a cloaked Zabrak named Kale. It is not of the Force, yet it disturbs the Force more profoundly than any Jedi armada. A beast, perhaps, but one of impossible strength, and it is on Tython. Kale, ever eager to prove himself, felt the faint, distant reverberations of the anomaly. It felt like a constant, low-frequency vibration in the Force, a chaotic pulse that defied definition. Master, could it be a Jedi weapon? A new creation? Varos merely sneered. The Jedi are too bound by their weak philosophies to create such a thing. No, this feels primal, untamed, a gift from the dark side of the cosmos itself. He recognized the unique signature from the initial reports of the Carbonite block discovered by Master Lyra Shan, reports that the Sith's extensive intelligence networks had intercepted. The Jedi spoke of gamma radiation and a humanoid. Varos immediately understood the potential. A being of such physical might, unburdened by the Force's limitations, could be the ultimate weapon against the Jedi, if it could be controlled. On Tython, the Jedi's attempts to contain the Hulk had shifted from direct confrontation to strategic redirection. Master Satele Shan, after witnessing the futility of frontal assaults, ordered a tactical retreat to funnel the Hulk towards the desolate, unpopulated northern canyons. "We cannot defeat him through conventional means," Satele stated, her voice relayed through comms to the scattered Jedi teams. "His rage fuels him, and our attempts to calm him only intensify it. We must find a way to deplete him, or to reach the sentient mind within." The Hulk, however, was not easily corralled. His path of destruction was more instinctual than strategic. He smashed through geological formations, his roars echoing across the canyons, a terrifying symphony of destruction. He had reached a vast open plain where the ground was cracked and dry, a place of ancient Force scars from forgotten battles. Here, the Force felt less vibrant, more subdued. And for a moment, the Hulk paused, his inner turmoil slightly less agitated by the pervasive energy. It was during this momentary lull that Bruce Banner, fighting tooth and nail against the Hulk's dominant personality, managed a fleeting glimpse of control. His awareness flickered, a momentary oasis of calm in the storm. He saw the strange, robed figures, the glowing swords, the alien landscape. He recognized the universal language of fear and aggression in their stances. And a profound weariness washed over him. Another world, another enemy, another chase. "Stop. Please," he tried to project, a mental plea lost in the Hulk's growing confusion and irritation. But the Hulk, always on the defensive, merely perceived it as a new form of attack, a subtle violation of his mind. Then, a new presence emerged. Not Jedi. These ships were sleeker, darker, their engines humming with a predatory thrum. Imperial attack craft, led by Lord Varkos's personal flagship, dropped from orbit, their holds disgorging platoons of battle-hardened Sith troopers, accompanied by powerful force-wielding inquisitors. They were not subtle. They came with blaring propaganda, their ships broadcasting a message of order and control over the raging beast the Jedi had unleashed. Varos himself descended in a personal shuttle, flanked by two formidable Sith apprentices. He landed directly in the Hulk's path, his dark robes swirling in the dust. He extended a hand, not in attack, but in an overture, a subtle manipulation of the Force to project an illusion of calm and understanding to the raging green giant. Creature of power, Varkos's voice, amplified by the Force, boomed across the plain, laced with seductive darkness. You are not a beast. You are a weapon. The Jedi sought to imprison you, to control you. We Sith, we offer you freedom, and targets. The Hulk paused, his head cocked. He didn't understand the words, but the intent resonated with his raw, frustrated rage. The Jedi were trying to stop him, to hurt him. These new figures, they seemed to embrace his fury, to offer an outlet. Bruce Banner screamed internally, a silent warning to the raging beast. No! Don't trust them! But the Hulk, focused on the immediate, tangible threats, saw the Jedi in the distance, regrouping, preparing another attempt at containment. The Sith, on the other hand, made no move to stop him. They merely pointed. The insidious nature of the dark side was at play, not corrupting his gamma energy, but subtly influencing his rage, guiding it, whispering promises of unstoppable destruction against those who sought to imprison him. This confrontation was no longer just about containment. It was about acquisition, and the Hulk was the prize. Lord Varkos's words, though alien to Bruce Banner's conscious mind, resonated with the Hulk's primal, untamed fury. The Sith Lord didn't try to control the monster, but rather to direct its inherent destructive nature. He offered no overt force-based attack, no attempt at physical restraint. Instead, Varos simply extended a hand towards the gathering Jedi, who were approaching cautiously, their lightsabers ignited, attempting to encircle the Hulk. They seek to bind you, beast, Varkos's voice echoed, a dark current flowing through the Force. They fear what they cannot understand. Come with us. Unleash your power on those who would see you caged. The Hulk's emerald eyes flickered between the Sith Lord, who seemed to offer a path for his rage, and the Jedi, who represented confinement. The internal struggle between Bruce Banner's inherent caution and the Hulk's destructive impulse was fierce, a silent war waging within his colossal frame. Banner screamed, a mental shriek of warning, but his voice was a whisper against the roar of the Hulk's ingrained defensiveness. With a defiant snarl, the Hulk slammed his massive fists together, creating a concussive wave that briefly disoriented both Sith troopers and Jedi alike. He took a colossal leap, not towards Varos, but past him, directly towards the Jedi formation. This was not an alliance with the Sith, but a rejection of both attempts at control. He perceived the Jedi as the immediate threat, the ones who had awoken him only to try and cage him again. This independent path, driven by pure instinct, caught both factions off guard. The ensuing melee was unlike any the Old Republic had ever witnessed. The Hulk was a green wrecking ball, tearing through the Jedi lines with horrifying efficiency. Lightsabers, the elegant weapons of the Jedi, glanced off his impossibly tough hide, leaving only faint scorch marks. Force pushes, meant to incapacitate or propel opponents, merely annoyed him, adding to his growing rage. Master Satele Shan, leading the Jedi, found her formidable combat skills tested to their absolute limit. She danced around his colossal swings, her double-bladed lightsaber a defensive blur, parrying impacts that would have crushed lesser beings. His power grows with his fury, Satele warned over her comlink, narrowly avoiding a massive chunk of rock the Hulk had ripped from the ground. Do not let him escalate further. Focus on containment, not direct engagement. But containing the Hulk was proving impossible. He moved with surprising agility for his size, his leaps covering vast distances, his landings shaking the very ground. Lord Varos watched the unfolding chaos with a predatory grin. His plan, though initially derailed by the Hulk's independent streak, was still playing out to his advantage. The Jedi were being devastated, their tactics failing, their sacred world being torn apart. His Sith troopers, meanwhile, were engaging the scattered Jedi at a distance, picking off those who were distracted by the green monster. He could see the potential now, not just as a weapon, but as a distraction, a force that would bleed the Jedi dry before he even had to lift a finger to subjugate it. As the Hulk continued his rampage, his internal struggle reached a fever pitch. Bruce Banner's fragmented consciousness, battered and bruised, desperately tried to assert itself. He saw the suffering, the destruction, the fear in the faces of the Jedi, and a profound guilt pierced through the Hulk's green-tinged fury. He didn't want this. He hated being controlled, but he also hated the collateral damage, the unintended consequences of his rage. A Jedi Padawan, no older than 16, stumbled in the Hulk's path, her lightsaber clattering to the ground. She looked up at the towering green figure, her eyes wide with terror, expecting oblivion. The Hulk's massive fist, already arcing down for another devastating blow, suddenly paused. He saw not a threat, but pure, unadulterated fear. A flicker of Banner's humanity, a memory of protecting the innocent, surged through the rage. The fist slammed down, not on the Padawan, but into the ground beside her, creating a massive crater and sending a shower of debris over her. The Hulk roared again, but this time there was a different note to it, a frustrated, almost pained sound. He looked at his hands, at the destruction he had wrought, and then at the terrified Padawan. This brief, almost imperceptible moment of self-awareness, a direct manifestation of Banner's underlying morality, caused a momentary internal shutdown for the Hulk. He was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being an uncontrolled force. Seizing this momentary hesitation, Lord Varos acted. He unleashed a powerful, invisible force suggestion, not to control the Hulk, but to subtly amplify the fatigue and frustration in Banner's mind, linking it to the Jedi presence. "They exhaust you, creature," Varos whispered, his voice flowing through the Force like a poison stream. "They are endless, but in our ships, there is peace, rest, and power for those who would defy them." He pointed towards his flagship, now hovering closer, its tractor beam emitters subtly charging, waiting for the opportune moment. The Hulk, caught in a maelstrom of conflicting impulses, swayed. He understood the language of exhaustion. He saw the endless waves of Jedi, and he saw the ships, a potential escape from this constant irritating fight. The choice, though not made consciously by Bruce Banner, was a morally complex one, driven by the Hulk's desire to escape a perceived torment. The Hulk, his colossal body trembling with a mixture of fatigue and barely contained fury, made a choice that stunned both the Jedi and the Sith. Instead of engaging either faction further, he launched himself skyward with an explosive leap, aiming not for a direct confrontation, but for Lord Varkos's flagship, hovering menacingly overhead. The Sith Lord, surprised by the creature's unexpected maneuver, quickly adjusted his strategy. He ordered his ship to open its hangar bay, activating a powerful tractor beam. This was a gamble. Bring the raging beast directly into his vessel, or risk it tearing apart his external defenses. The tractor beam enveloped the Hulk, pulling him inexorably towards the gaping maw of the hangar. The Jedi, witnessing this bizarre turn of events, watched in horrified disbelief. "He's letting them take him!" Master Satele Shan exclaimed, her voice tight with frustration. "Or, they've found a way to subdue him." She knew the implications. If the Sith gained control of such a force, the balance of power in the galaxy would be irrevocably shattered. Inside the Sith flagship, the Ravager's fury, the Hulk crash-landed onto the hangar deck with a seismic impact that sent Sith troopers sprawling. The ship's internal security protocols immediately kicked in, giant electrobinders snapping from the floor and ceiling, attempting to ensnare his limbs. Lord Varos, observing from a shielded command bridge overlooking the hangar, merely smiled. "Amateurs," he sneered, watching the binders spark and strain under the Hulk's immediate, violent struggle. "This is not how you cage a god." Varos descended to the hangar floor, flanked by his two apprentices. The Hulk roared, a primal sound of outrage and renewed fury at this new attempt to chain him. His emerald eyes locked onto Varos. Bruce Banner's fragmented consciousness, temporarily overwhelmed by the sensory input of the unfamiliar ship and the Sith's subtle manipulations, screamed a silent warning. Trap. Get out. But the Hulk, always reacting, simply thrashed harder, tearing through the binders with terrifying ease. Varos raised a hand, not to attack, but to project an aura of calm dominance through the force, subtly tinged with a promise of shared destruction. "Peace, creature," he murmured, his voice echoing in the vast hangar. "We mean you no harm. Only the Jedi wish to bind you. We seek to free your power." He then directed his apprentices to project visions of Jedi masters, their faces contorted in fear, their lightsabers shattered. He offered the Hulk an illusion of endless targets, of absolute cathartic destruction directed at his perceived tormentors. The Hulk, always drawn to targets for his rage, paused. He could still feel the echoes of Banner's guilt, but the Sith's subtle force illusions tapped into his deepest, most primal desires. To smash, to break, to be left alone. The Jedi represented the constant annoyance, the persistent attempts at control. The Sith, in this twisted perception, offered a form of freedom, the freedom to destroy without consequence, directed at a common enemy. It was a perilous dance of manipulation, exploiting the Hulk's lack of true sentience and Bruce Banner's suppressed consciousness. For the next few weeks, the Ravager's fury became a volatile, moving laboratory of Sith experimentation. Lord Varos, fascinated by the Hulk's unique physiology, ordered extensive studies. His Sith acolytes, under strict orders not to provoke the creature into a full rage, used specialized force rituals to try and understand the gamma energy, seeking to replicate or even control it. They found the Hulk's internal energy signature to be a bewildering, chaotic force, resisting their attempts to siphon or corrupt it directly. It was not susceptible to the dark side in the traditional sense. It was a different kind of power altogether. However, Varos discovered a terrifying truth. While he couldn't control the gamma, he could inflame the rage. His force manipulations didn't directly empower the Hulk, but rather exacerbated Bruce Banner's internal turmoil, making the transformations more frequent. The Hulk's fury more potent. He could, through carefully applied bursts of dark-side energy, nudge the creature into a specific direction of destruction. It was like steering a landslide, rather than directing a guided missile. One day, an Imperial sensor array detected a small Jedi recon vessel tracking the Ravager's fury. Varos, seizing the opportunity, personally goaded the Hulk with amplified illusions of Jedi attempting to infiltrate his sanctuary. The Hulk, roaring in renewed fury, instinctively understood the threat. With a single, devastating leap, he smashed through the hangar's outer shield, launched himself into space, and with impossible speed and strength began tearing apart the Jedi ship with his bare hands. The Jedi on board, including a desperate Master Shan, watched in horror as the Hulk, now undeniably weaponized by the Sith, ripped through their starship's hull as if it were tissue paper. This was a nightmare, made real. The Jedi had glimpsed the man within the monster, but now the monster was a living, breathing instrument of the dark side, turned against them by the insidious machinations of Lord Varos. This was a new level of war, one where the Force itself had a chaotic, green-skinned avatar of destruction. The galaxy would tremble. The destruction of the Jedi recon vessel, torn apart by the Hulk's bare hands in the cold vacuum of space, sent a chilling message through the Jedi Order. It was no longer an escaped anomaly. It was a weapon, forged, or at least directed, by the Sith. The specter of the Green Terror now haunted the very fringes of their strategic planning. The Jedi Council, reconvened in emergency session, grappled with the terrifying implications. The Sith had gained a force multiplier unlike any seen in centuries, a creature immune to lightsabers and resistant to the Force's direct influence, yet susceptible to its emotional manipulation. Lord Varos has found a way to weaponize the creature's rage, Master Satele Shan reported, her face grim. He does not control the gamma energy, but he exploits Banner's inner torment, making the Hulk a volatile, unstoppable force against our interests. We have confirmed multiple attacks on Republic supply lines and observation posts, each bearing the hallmark of the Hulk's destructive power, always guided by Sith vessels. Master Windu pounded his fist lightly on the council table. This is an affront to the Force. We cannot allow this abomination to be unleashed upon the galaxy. Yoda, however, saw the deeper, more tragic truth. An abomination, he is not. A prisoner, he is. A tortured soul, manipulated by the dark side. His rage, a conduit for Varkos's will. The Jedi were caught in an impossible dilemma. How do you stop a creature of pure, destructive power when engaging it only makes it stronger, and when its manipulation by the enemy causes immense suffering? Meanwhile, aboard the Ravager's Fury, Lord Varos continued his insidious experiments. He had discovered that direct force attacks on the Hulk were largely ineffective, serving only to heighten his fury. However, subtle uses of the dark side to project aggression, fear, and a sense of constant threat could continuously stoke the Hulk's rage, preventing Bruce Banner from ever fully resurfacing. He even began using force illusions to project distorted images of Banner's original world, images of loved ones in peril, images of himself as a failure, all designed to keep the Hulk in a constant state of agitated self-preservation. One such manipulation involved the capture of a small, peaceful, force-sensitive species from a Republic-aligned world. Varos showcased these creatures to the Hulk, then, through force suggestion, made the Hulk perceive them as miniature Jedi. Attempting to bind him, the result was a terrifying display of raw power, as the Hulk, blinded by manipulated rage, lashed out, inadvertently crushing the innocent beings. The scream of Bruce Banner's conscience, horrified by what his other self had done, almost broke through. But Varos quickly flooded the Hulk's mind with new aggressive targets, drowning out the guilt with renewed fury. It was a vicious cycle, trapping Banner in a hellish nightmare of his own making. The Sith strategy was clear. Unleash the Hulk on key Republic strongholds, allowing him to decimate defenses, then send in Imperial forces to mop up the remaining demoralized Jedi and Republic forces. The Ravager's Fury became a phantom ship, appearing in hyperspace, dropping its green weapon, and then vanishing before the Jedi could mount an effective counterattack. The terror of the Hulk spread like wildfire, causing panic and disarray in even the most stalwart Republic worlds. However, Varkos's overconfidence began to lead to carelessness. During an attack on a heavily fortified Republic orbital station, the Hulk was unleashed into a densely populated sector. The destruction was immense, but for the first time, Banner's consciousness found a tiny crack in the Sith's constant mental assault. As he smashed through the station's core, a holographic projection of his original world, a fleeting glimpse of a familiar street, was unintentionally projected by a damaged console. It was enough. The sheer dissonance between the Sith's constant mental assault and this sudden, uncorrupted memory allowed Banner a fleeting moment of clarity. He saw the destruction he was causing, the innocent lives caught in his rampage, and a wave of profound despair, untouched by gamma rage, washed over him. He was a monster, a tool of villains. This sudden, deep sorrow, a pure human emotion, briefly overrode the Hulk's fury. He hesitated, his massive green hands still poised to strike. Varos, sensing this dangerous shift, immediately unleashed a torrent of dark side energy, attempting to reignite the rage, to drown Banner once more. But this time, Banner fought back. He had glimpsed true horror, the evil of his manipulators, and a spark of desperate defiance ignited within him. He couldn't control the Hulk, but he could try to redirect him. As Varkos's dark side energy washed over him, Banner focused all his willpower, all his fragmented genius, not on resisting the rage, but on aiming it. The Hulk, instead of completing his attack on the station, suddenly turned, his eyes burning with a terrible, focused wrath, not at the Jedi, but at the distant, hovering Ravager's fury. Bruce Banner, for a precious few moments, had found a way to guide the monster's anger, turning it on its true tormentor. This was no alliance or betrayal in the traditional sense, but a desperate act of character agency, a conscious choice to break free. Even if he remained trapped within the green beast, the sudden, unexpected shift in the Hulk's focus sent a tremor of shock through Lord Varos. His force manipulation, usually so absolute, had failed in the face of Bruce Banner's desperate, momentary assertion of will. The Ravager's Fury, though a formidable Sith capital ship, was suddenly no longer the hunter, but the hunted. The Hulk, with a primal roar that rattled the very superstructure of the orbital station, propelled himself into the void of space, a living green projectile hurtling towards the Sith flagship. Varos, incensed, screamed orders to his bridge crew. "Fire! All batteries! Target the beast!" Turbo lasers and laser cannons spat crimson energy at the approaching green figure, illuminating the darkness of space. But the Hulk, riding a wave of Banner's pure, focused fury, moved with impossible speed. Deflecting some blasts with his forearms, enduring others that simply scorched his impossibly durable hide. He slammed into the Ravager's Fury's command tower with the force of a small asteroid, the entire ship shuddering violently. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and the shields around the command bridge flickered and died. Inside, Lord Varos staggered, his face contorted in disbelief and outrage. He turned against us," he snarled, as the Hulk's immense fist, now fueled by Banner's righteous indignation, began to punch through the thick transparisteel of the observation window. The vacuum of space threatened to breach, but the Hulk, driven by an instinct beyond conscious thought, seemed to hold his breath. The Jedi, still reeling from the Hulk's rampage on the orbital station, watched the impossible spectacle unfold. Master Satele Shan, aboard her relief frigate, could barely believe her eyes as the Sith flagship, a symbol of imperial dominance, began to buckle under the assault of the green giant. "He's attacking the Sith," she exclaimed, a flicker of hope amidst the dread. "Banner. He must have broken through." The confrontation inside the Ravager's Fury was swift and brutal. The Hulk ripped open the command bridge, exposing it to the vacuum, but Varos, anticipating the breach, had erected a powerful force shield around himself and his apprentices. He unleashed a torrent of dark side lightning, crackling blue energy lashing out at the Hulk's exposed form. This time, however, the lightning didn't merely annoy him. It caused searing pain, its electrical charge interacting violently with his gamma-powered physiology. The Hulk roared, a sound of agony mixed with undiluted rage, his muscles spasming. Varos, seizing the advantage, pressed his attack, amplifying the lightning, trying to overwhelm the creature. "Submit, beast! Return to your master!" But even through the pain, Banner's will, a tiny ember in the storm, remained. He couldn't stop the Hulk, but he could focus him. With a monumental effort, the Hulk absorbed the agony, using the sheer force of the dark side lightning as a new source of irritation and, consequently, strength. He let out a deafening, defiant roar, and with a single, shattering blow, punched through Varkos's force shield, directly striking the Sith Lord. The impact was cataclysmic. Lord Varos, for all his mastery of the dark side, was a mortal being. The Hulk's fist, carrying the weight of Banner's fury and the accumulated agony of weeks of manipulation, pulped him instantly. Varkos's body exploded into a cloud of dark energy and mangled armor, his presence in the Force abruptly extinguished. His apprentices, terrified, scattered. The Ravager's Fury was now adrift, its command center crippled, its shield generators failing. The Hulk, having extinguished his immediate tormentor, paused. The overwhelming surge of rage began to recede, replaced by a profound, agonizing fatigue. Bruce Banner's consciousness, now dominant for the first time in weeks, was flooded with the horrific memories of what the Hulk had done under Sith manipulation, the destroyed station, the innocent lives lost, the manipulation, the pain. The sheer weight of guilt was unbearable. He staggered back, his colossal green form shrinking slightly as the gamma energy began to recede, his skin fading to a sickly pale green. The transformation, usually a gradual process, was accelerated by the emotional shock. He could hear the Jedi ships approaching, their alarms blaring. He knew they would see only the monster, the destroyer. He couldn't face them, couldn't explain. He was a weapon, a liability, a walking catastrophe. With the last vestiges of the Hulk's strength, and Bruce Banner's desperate, overwhelming desire to escape, he tore a chunk of durasteel from the ship's ruined hull. He then launched himself away from the derelict Sith cruiser, away from the approaching Jedi, and into the endless, forgiving darkness of deep space, a tiny, fading green speck against the backdrop of stars. He was at his limit, both physically and emotionally, leaving irreversible consequences and a galaxy forever altered by his destructive and tragically manipulated rampage. The aftermath of the Hulk's brutal, cathartic rampage aboard the Ravager's Fury left a profound, unsettling silence in its wake. The derelict Sith flagship, a testament to raw, unrestrained power, drifted lifelessly in the void, a grim trophy of the monster's fury. The Jedi, arriving moments after the Hulk's escape, found only the scattered remnants of Lord Varos and his bridge crew, unmistakable evidence of the Green Giant's destructive might. The Sith threat had been neutralized, but at a terrible, unforeseen cost. Master Satele Shan and her Jedi team boarded the crippled vessel, their lightsabers illuminating the carnage. The extent of the Hulk's fury was palpable, etched into every ruptured bulkhead and crushed console. They found remnants of Varkos's vile experiments, force-drained Jedi prisoners, disturbing research logs detailing the insidious manipulation of gamma radiation and the amplification of the creature's rage. They pieced together the truth. The Hulk had been a tormented victim, a weapon twisted by the dark side, but ultimately, a being capable of turning that very rage against its tormentors. The Jedi Council convened once more, their discussions tinged with a complex mix of relief, horror, and profound philosophical introspection. Lord Varos was gone, a significant victory against the Sith Empire. Yet the cost in Republic lives, and the sheer terror unleashed by the Hulk left a bitter taste. The creature, the Hulk, he saved us from Varos, Master Satele conceded, her voice heavy. But he also laid waste to sectors, driven by the very evil we fight. Yoda's eyes were distant, contemplating the vastness of the Force and the alien nature of the power they had encountered. A tragic figure, this Banner. Caught between his own nature and the galaxy's darkness, he was. The Force, it knows not of gamma, yet it felt its chaotic presence. A new path, this reveals. That power can exist beyond our understanding, beyond light and dark. The Hulk, or rather Bruce Banner, was now adrift in deep space, encased in a makeshift, desperate escape pod of Durasteel. The gamma radiation within him had receded, leaving him in his human form, unconscious, battered, and emotionally shattered. His mind, overloaded by the weeks of uncontrolled rage and the traumatic memories of destruction, mercifully shut down. His unique physiology, however, allowed him to survive the vacuum of space for an extended period in this suspended state, a testament to his alien resilience. His trajectory, however, was unpredictable. The small, improvised pod drifted through uncharted sectors, carried by rogue asteroid currents and solar winds, pushed further and further from the core worlds of the Old Republic. He was a cosmic orphan, forever alienated from his home universe, now a silent, forgotten legend in a galaxy that would eventually weave his terrifying rampages into cautionary tales. The impact of the Hulk's brief, destructive sojourn in the Old Republic was multifaceted. For the Jedi, it forced a re-evaluation of their understanding of power. They had faced beings of immense physical strength, but none that were immune to the Force's direct influence, and whose rage was a power source unto itself. It highlighted the dangers of the unknown and the insidious nature of dark side manipulation. The Green Terror became a shadowy figure in their lore, a reminder that not all threats could be countered with a lightsaber or a force push. For the Sith, Varkos's demise and the loss of their ultimate weapon were a setback, but the lessons learned were chilling. Other Sith Lords began to research the gamma anomaly, seeking ways to replicate Varkos's psychological manipulation, to find other primitive powers that could be weaponized against the Jedi. The concept of using raw, unforce-based power as a strategic asset gained traction in the darker corners of the galaxy, hinting at future superweapons and biological threats. As for Bruce Banner, his new status in the galaxy was one of unknowing exile. He was a being caught between two realities, unable to find peace in either. His return to his home world was, for now, impossible. His future in the Star Wars galaxy, however, remained an open question. Would he awaken again? Would the Force call to him in a different way? Would the Hulk rise once more, perhaps to face a new, even more terrifying threat? Or finally find a moment of peace? The answers were lost to the vastness of space and time, but the galaxy would never forget the monstrous, tragic collision of Gamma and the Force. The Force, a tapestry woven with the threads of light and dark, found itself irrevocably altered by the brief, tumultuous presence of the Hulk. His story, a symphony of gamma-fueled rage and tormented human conscience, became a whispered legend, a cautionary tale for the Jedi of powers beyond their comprehension, and a dark inspiration for the Sith seeking new avenues of destruction. Bruce Banner, a being defined by his impossible strength and his unending struggle, was both a victim and a catalyst, leaving a trail of shattered worlds and shattered preconceptions. The Old Republic learned that even in a galaxy dominated by the Force, some forces of nature obeyed no laws but their own, and that true power often came with a tragic, uncontrollable cost. The mystery of his origin and his ultimate fate became a cosmic riddle, forever etched into the vast unknowable expanse of a galaxy far, far away. May the Force be with you. More stories await.